Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Check this out. I bought my very first Traxxas model, a TRX-4M Bronco, last Sunday. Why did I do this? I never wanted to buy a model of Traxxas, because I showed you this awesome 1/18 Jeep style body crawler from Austar, which was released recently. That's a super budget crawler for about 80 bucks now on Black Friday. Ali, you could even get it for 62 euros. Unbelievable. What's about 66, 68 US dollars. Unbelievably cheap. And when I made this unboxing video and deep look inside too, many people commented that's a copy of a TRX-4M, but I didn't see it because I never had a TRX-4M. So I thought, okay, and I want to know it, I want to see it. And I bought a TRX-4M, a Bronco. And in this video, we will see how much copy clone of the TRX-4M this Austar AX8560 really is. First, we have, of course, to talk a little bit about prices, because that's a completely different range, and also about prices of the TRX-4M. People in the US probably do not know how expensive this is outside of the USA, at least here in Europe. In US it's a guess Bronco Defender 150 US dollar, about 135 euros. Here it's way more expensive. That's also a difference to, for example, Axial or All Horizon products. The SCX24 here is a little bit more expensive than in the US. The Bronco, the Defender and the high lifts are way more expensive. Initial price of those forever was 195 euros. That's about 210, 215 US dollars for the Bronco and the Defender, and 210 euros for the high lifts, what's more than 230 US dollar. And last week I searched for a promotion. I found one for 180 euros, still about 200 US dollar for this Bronco, and bought it for 180. Should have waited about 1 week more. This week is Black Friday week, and for the very first time I saw them for 170. However, still way more expensive. While you have to pay for this truck, including VAT and shipment, 80 bucks at the most. As I already told you, you could get it for 62 euros last week at AliExpress using this 20-4, including shipment for Europeans, including VAT. So depending where you live in the US, the TRX-4M is about twice as expensive as the Austar, and at least here in European Union, the TRX-4M is 2.5 to 3 times as expensive as the Austar, and we should have to consider this. So you see, I'm for sure no Traxxas fan, but I will not bash the TRX-4M at all in this video. I did already make the MCCT crawling tests, and this TRX-4M was a big surprise for me, a positive surprise. I had heard so many bad things about TRX-4Ms, I didn't expect anything, and it was much better than I had expected. Of course, things I did already know: expensive upgrades, super high price, and super bad low speed modulation, but everything else, it was much better than I had expected. What do you get with a TRX-4M? Packing for both. That's the packing of the Austar, and that's for the TRX-4M is very good, no problem. You also don't have to be afraid the Austar will kind of break on its journey from China to Europe or USA or whatever. But with the Bronco you get all this axial stuff. So a nice girl you can put on your wall if you're 16 probably, and you get quite nice manuals, colored manuals, how to drive your car, who needs this, and a detailed manual for with exploded fuse and all spare parts, and of course 20 pages of warnings. And you get the some tools, warranty card, and a simple USB charger. I even had to use this because of those proprietary plugs of the Traxxas. And with the Austar, in contrary, you don't get a lot. You get those exploded fuse. I did already see more videos now, because I don't have a manual of the remote. Maybe this was on this page. So exploded fuse, a super nice tiny sticker sheet, and also a USB charger. I of course never used, because the battery of the Austar does come with normal plugs. I can charge with my normal charger. So that's what you get more with the Bronco, the Traxxas. However, the Austar does already come with a trailer hitch. By the way, I told you in the detailed video unboxing, take a look inside, everything's only 1.5mm hex screws. That's not completely true. The trailer hitch is mounted by Phillips head screws. The Traxxas doesn't come with a trailer hitch. Of course, you can buy it as upgrade. The cheap trailer, meanwhile it arrived, it looks a bit toyish. The Austar trailer for the AX8560 does come with an additional trailer hitch, and this trailer hitch will also fit. I tested it exactly to the TRX-4M frame here, so that's quite nice. Now I have two trailer hitches. The trailer is plasticish, needs a little bit of weathering, does come with ball bearings and beadlocks. Lights you can put inside. That's a bit strange, not super nice for about 20 bucks, but cheap. But trailer hitch for the TRX-4M and of course for the Austar. But this one does already come with a trailer hitch. What else you can buy for the TRX-4M? Light sets. It does come with lights, which are always on, but the Austar does come with lights too. You can switch them off. You have a light bar, two ways of switching, long press for the main beams, short press for this disco light. So that's things you have to pay additionally extra, and of course it does come with rear lights and a big negative with super annoying turning lights which blink much too fast. But all this stuff is already inside of the Austar, and you have to pay it extra in the TRX-4M. Both do come with ugly radios. This radio is super ugly in my opinion. Wow! And this radio in Jura Austar isn't really pretty too. Both do come with foam wheels. That's quite nice. However, I would highly prefer those tiny fly sky radios, which do come with a lot of trucks, Hobby Plus, FMS nowadays. So let's take a look here. And you see the Austar does already come with super nice inner fenders, all side long. The TRX-4M does not. And we will take a look inside it now and check if the bodies are interchangeable. I can already tell you, no, they are not simply interchangeable. But I want to show you the biggest difference. The Austar, if you saw my MCCT video where I compared those, you do already know it. It does have 3 speeds here, electronically controlled, and no whining at all, and super nice low speed modulation. And the Traxxas TRX-4M, you hear this annoying ESC whining. I hate this. And low speed modulation is not good at all. It's not the worst out there, but I have stock gears, no crawler gears, and this annoying whining. And even in third speed, that's not really a gear, it's electronically controlled speed, dual rate, so less speed, also less torque, in contrary to a mechanical 2 or 3 speed. But even in high speed, it's okay, and this ESC is completely silent. And that's a big difference. So electronics are way better, one would think. Check this out, how I can climb this step here. You see how slowly I can climb this? I want to show you my index finger. And here you already see the main disadvantage. I can stop here. So that's awesome. But there are also 2 disadvantages of the Austar. But the TRX-4M, it's not super bad. But I try to go as slow as I can. And I have to show you this to you. I have to pull. I never could stop here. So that's way better in the Austar. And it's even better on second and third speed. And on high speed, I checked it, check it out here. They are around the same maximum speed. The Austar on third speed, on high speed, is maybe a tiny little bit faster than the TRX-4M. But as I already told you, the Austar or the Austar is not only positive, it also has some flaws. Main flaw in electronics, even if it is so nice to drive and so silent, it doesn't have a crawler mode, so you can't go forward reverse directly. You always have to go brake. It only has forward brake reverse mode, while in the TRX-4M you can switch between 3 different modes. Unfortunately not by radio, you have to do it on the receiver ESC unit. And I was getting used to this forward brake reverse mode in crawling, not that bad, but what's really annoying, reverse speed is way lower than forward speed. I don't know why they did it, and that's especially annoying at low speed. So you check this here, and that's maximum reverse speed. It's not speed that's the problem. Problem is it doesn't have torque. And that's super annoying. You can always, if you go reverse, switch on a radio, and then at high speed you also have at least a little bit of speed in reverse, but in first speed or low speed this is super annoying. And I really don't know if you are crawling, that's absolutely a bummer. You have to switch if you are really hard crawling. Then you should also take off the trailer hitch. I did do it for MCCT. However, the trailer hitch works as a kind of wheelie bar, so it keeps it from tipping over. I really don't know why Austar or Injora, that's Injora sells this radio too as Injora, did this. Because it wouldn't have been any problem to do a crawler mode, forward reverse, even without switching. Give this truck, it's a crawler mode. And why so slow? So that's not 50%, I guess. So that's first low speed. You see, it's still, that's super nice. It's much stronger than many others in this low speed. So you can crawl in low speed, it's really nice, but reverse, that's annoying. Why did Austar do this? Program their ESC differently, give it 100% reverse, or at least 80%, and give it a crawler mode, then this would be nearly 10 out of 10 for a ready-to-run electronic in a microcrawler. I know all you guys want to know if those are interchangeable, the bodies and all this stuff, but let's talk a little bit more first what you get with the Austar, what you will not get with the TRX-4M. TRX-4M doesn't have beadlock wheels, it has quite nice wheels, no foams inside. This makes it quite a capable crawler, but it also makes it slipping. Those tires are sticky, but on smooth surfaces, in my incline test, those were slipping a lot, but also helped it from tipping over. The Austar does come with super nice tires, so the TRX-4M tires are of the Bronco. They are whatever BF Goodrich, I guess. They are really quite good, or really good for a ready-to-run truck, but the Austar are at least as good. But the Austars, I did already disassemble it in the first video, do come with foams inside and with beadlock wheels. So you can disassemble the rims, 1-inch beadlock rims, and change tires. And the foams inside, they are not vented, they are quite hard, and this makes it bouncy and makes it also in climbing bouncy. And additionally, of course, if we are talking about bouncy, the shocks of the Austar, I will take off the body soon, are not very good. They are not oil filled and they are quite springy, and this is absolutely awesome in the TRX-4M Bronco. It does come with oil filled shocks from the factory, and those shocks, people complain, I couldn't complain, it was so much better than I had expected. Really a positive surprise. Of course, we have this battery, I hate it, and all this stuff, but the shocks are really good, and the Austar shocks are simply bumpy, springy, mechanical shocks, only a spring. So this should be the first upgrade, and maybe you should either vent the tires, or if you want to do hard crawling, you should remove the foams. Tires are really nice. And the Austar does also lose in steering angle. Check this out, it's not super bad. The Austar and the TRX-4M, maximum steering angle, way better in the TRX-4M to both sides. So there should an improvement be possible. Many people tell they have problems with their TRX-4M in steering, but mine, I can go 100% steering. Okay, there's a little bit of roughness, but I can steer to both sides. So full and slow speed, or do it that way. It will not stop, so I got a good one. I'm happy with mine. And that's way better. Both have CVDs in steering. Both have hex screws all around, or nearly everywhere. And here the TRX-4M clearly wins. The shocks are way better and steering is really awesome. What else can you buy as upgrade for the TRX-4M? Those are ball bearings, because the TRX-4M comes with bushings all around. And you won't believe it, this super cheap wood does come with ball bearings all around. Wow. And both do come with this awesome body mounting clip system. And that's why people think you could easily exchange those. However, the system is very similar, but it works much smoother in the TRX-4M. Check this out. Super easy. In the Austar, it also works, but it's much harder to get out and mainly harder to get in. In the TRX-4M, it's super easy. I really love this, as everyone, I guess. You simply... Perfect. That's it. In the Austar, it's much harder. It works too, but I initially I had to try a little bit. So first I do it here, press it, come on. On camera it does not work, of course, or is it already? Oh, it's already in. And then on the front side and wait till it clips, so it's much harder. And here the TRX-4M clearly wins too. And now let's take the bodies off again and see if we can exchange those. Because this cheap, not licensed cheap. So that's also a big difference. Of course, I forgot. The Bronco, the Defender, all the TRX-4Ms are licensed. And the Austar hobby, that's a cheap Wrangler, but it's not licensed. Of course, that's a reason for the TRX-4M to be more expensive, but not that much more expensive. Here you can see light controller in the Austar. And here those body mounting systems, very nice, are not exactly the same as in the TRX-4M, but those are also mounted with Phillips head screws. In my first video I told you everything is with hex 1.5 millimeter. Those are also Phillips head. And here you have the lights controlled by the ESC radio receiver light controller unit. So here the receiver unit of the Austar, it does have an on-off switch. The Traxxas does not have an on-off switch. You switch it on-off by plugging battery on-off. I know many people hate this. I personally love this. I think that's awesome what Traxxas did here, because that way people cannot forget to plug off the battery and that way kill the battery if they keep it plugged in, even if the unit is switched off for weeks or months. However, of course, I hate those, as all of you proprietary plugs. You cannot use any different batteries easily without making adapters. What's not that easy, because those plugs are or were not available widely. So that's annoying, and that's the thing many people hate from Traxxas, because they want you to buy their super pricey parts, upgrade parts, battery. I don't know how much this costs, probably around 15-20 euros here, while the Austar does come with a lithium-ion battery, that's 600 milliamp hours, and the Traxxas does come with a nice battery, that's a LiPo, but it does come with normal JST red plugs, and I have a ton of batteries which will fit into the compartment. But first let's check if the bodies fit, because many people thought they fit, and I can already tell you they do not fit. I cannot really test the Bronco body now because of the inner fenders. I will remove the inner fenders later when we make a more detailed comparison of the chassis. But the cheap body does not fit without any modifications. I don't really know. It does not fit to the TRX-4M frame easily, so I can't get it in here. This would need modifications, and it's not simply, I cannot get farther. Maybe that's the bumper here, no, and also on front side. And if you compare the clip systems, you will see that those are not completely the same. That's not an exact copy. They are a little bit different in rear and also on front side. So the body will fit for sure if you use TRX-4M clips, if you can. And with a little bit of modification it will probably fit too, but it's not simply switching the bodies. Let's switch those off now and compare chassis in detail. Both do have very nice battery compartments, which are very similar. The Austar with a rubber band, the Traxxas with a larger band, and still not exactly the same as you can see here. Here the batteries, that's for sure the better battery, but this plug, nobody wants to buy 5 TRX-4M batteries for a super high price. If you can buy 2S lipos, that's a lithium ion, but a ton of lipos I do have will fit into this compartment, 2S lipos, and with JST red plugs. I'll remove this strap from the Traxxas now to be able to compare the chassis better, because what you can see here, wheelbase of course is exactly the same. Weight is not the same. Weight ready to run including battery, the Austar is 75 grams heavier than the TRX-4M Bronco. The Bronco has 492 grams, while the Austar has 567 grams. Wheelbase is the same, and what we see here, difference in motor. The Austar, the TRX-4M, does come with a 180 motor, what's already quite good and strong for a 1/18th truck. That's okay, but the Austar tops this. It does come with even a larger motor. That's a 260 size motor. That's not a 370 motor. Some people tell it's a 260 size motor. It has a diameter of 24 millimeters around and a length of, so no 370, 260, but this motor is super nice and super torquey and super strong. To compare the chassis better, I will remove those very nice inner fenders now, what's quite a bit of work. So fenders off, quite a lot of screws to remove and insert again, because they also hold links and parts of the chassis, and now it's, I guess, easier to compare those. So here the Austar and the TRX-4M Bronco, and we do already see the battery compartment is not the same, and shock towers seem to be the same. But now let's first try if it's possible to mount the Bronco body to the Austar without inner fenders, which do not fit. No, maybe what could be maybe the bumper could also be a problem. Yes. So I would have to take the bumpers off, but the bumpers seem to hold the clip system. So, well, let's try it. Let's take the bumpers off. Bumpers off. TRX-4M Bronco front bumper. I don't wanna open all this. Wiring still on wires compared to the Austar front bumper. Mounting system is similar, and this should kind of, well, if you press it in, this should kind of fit. Yeah, it seems to be the same distance. And front bumpers, rear bumpers with trailer hitch. Without trailer hitch, TRX-4M of course. But it's much lower, so maybe now the TRX-4M body will fit. No, without bumper it's not possible to mount those, so one would have to mount the TRX-4M rear bumper to the Austar. Would this work? Probably yes. Come on. So that way without screws now, will it then fit? It seems to be clipped in now. And on the front side, here, would have to mount the front bumper of the TRX-4M, but probably then this could work. Wheelbase is correct. What's of course a copy of the TRX-4M in the Austar is the way the servo is mounted. I didn't see this before in any micro truck. This was first quite difficult, taking it out and in again. Servo on an axle, but not in direction of the axle, but in direction of the chassis. And this seems to be exactly the same in the Austar. Also steering seems to be exactly the same way. However, not an exact copy. It's a copy but not a clone, because there's a little bit of difference here on the sides. So here you can see it, that's the Austar. And here you can see the Traxxas. Should I disassemble both servos now or take them off? Don't think so. Let's take off one front wheel on each side. So wheels off, beadlock rims in the Austar, and simply not glued, but no beadlocks in the Traxxas, no foams. And now we can see the servo mounting mechanism a little bit better, and this seems to be exactly the same. So let's take off the front axles and compare those. So front axles removed, TRX-4M front axles and Austar front axles, those are super similar. You can see it here, steering seems to be exactly steering links, same length. Are they? No, they are not. Okay, I nearly told it wrong. This is not the same. Check this out. The TRX-4M front axles, is this TRX-4M? No, the front axles of the Austar are much wider. Wow. Didn't check this so far. Hope you can see it. They are maybe 6-7 mils wider than the TRX-4M, so no copy at all in this case, but the way the servo is mounted seems to be a copy. That seems to be exactly the same. And probably is interchangeable. Drive shafts. Those drive shafts of the TRX-4M, rubber band, O-ring and pin, that's of course not perfect because you easily can lose them. Mount shrink tube. But they still seem to run smoother than the drive shafts of the Austar with conventional a cross member inside. That's plastic. Probably the TRX-4M weighs more sturdy, but this O-ring is always a pain if you lose it. Both are mounted by hex screws. The TRX-4M runs really, the axle runs really smooth. That's super nice, even if it doesn't have ball bearings and steering. So that's really nice. In the Austar, you can't steer farther than that way, so that's already a difference. In the TRX-4M, you can see here, you can steer much steeper angles, and it simply runs smoother than. It's not bad, it's okay. Ball bearings all around, bushings all around. Way servo and steering is made, that's the same, but size is not the same. So diff cover mounted by 4 hex screws, diff cover mounted by 4 hex screws. Let's take a look inside. Both do have plastic or composite gears. And yeah, let's check. Further big surprise, took the diff covers off. One would think those are exactly the same with a little bit of different design that keeps Traxxas from suing. But if you turn them around, you see, I don't know if you see it, that's the Traxxas diff cover. Those are mounted by those super thin screws, not machine thread. And the Austar are mounted, the diff covers are mounted with M2, normal M2 screws. So you cannot probably, no. So those holes for the screw holes are much thinner. So here Traxxas and Austar cannot be interchanged. And so the diff covers, gears, those are the Austar gears, super nicely greased, and ball bearings. Those are the Traxxas gears. And I think, not sure, gears seem to be greased, not greased at all here. But there seems to be a little bit of whatever oil or something. But gears are not greased at all. And here, really nicely greased. Both are composite and seem very similar. So, not sure if that's the same. So there are a lot of differences between those trucks. Here on the C-hub, the Austar has those bronze shims and is mounted with screws M2, while the TRX-4M has those screws which kind of include a shim, or is it? Then CBD shafts, that's Traxxas, that's Austar. Won't work, you see, completely different length. The Austar here, lighter one, is longer, this part, and also thread is longer, So really quite different, even if same style. And here we have ring and pinion gear. They are not greased, they are completely dry, of the TRX-4M, and the bushing. And here we have the nicely greased pinion gear of the Austar. I try to check if those are... No, they are not the same. Are they even same diameter? Not totally sure. So the Austar has, come on, 8.2. Traxxas 8.5. Yes, it seemed a little bit larger. And ring gear, Austar nicely greased, 15. Traxxas not greased at all. Yeah, that could be the same. I'm not sure now if I should count those, take a picture. They seem to be the same. Maybe the pinions are also interchangeable. So not the same at all, only very similar. Maybe they also used the design of the TRX-4M and made everything a little bit different to be on the safe side. Wow, I gave a bushing now to the Austar. Gets a bearing, because it does come with bearing. And of course, when reassembling, I will grease those. Those are super, super, super dry. What else? Looks very similar, as already mentioned. Diff cover are not interchangeable. And here's the only part of the Austar where it doesn't come with a ball bearing, but this kind of bushing. But that's, I guess, this strange bushing with 3.5 millimeter. What's so difficult to get? Let's check. Yeah. So here they didn't get this special bushing where everyone initially had problems. When upgrading the TRX-4M a year ago, I ordered some of those and will exchange all those against bearings. Now I have to reassemble all this stuff again. Wow. But first, let's compare the servos. The Austar servo here, the black one, is completely metal gear. It works okay. People already complain it's weak, but I think people always complain servos are too weak. The Traxxas servo seems it's exactly the same size. The tabs are a little bit longer in the Austar, but size-wise this should be interchangeable, but you will buy an upgrade servo anyway. Opa. Full metal gears. This was a surprise. It works so far for me. Don't know if it's super weak. Didn't feel it. Which stock servo is not super weak, or about which stock servo people won't complain. Here the Austar front axle with the SEX with the TRX-4M ring gear and bushings. This seems to work. And here the TRX-4M front axle with the gear of the greased gear of the Austar, and this seems also to run smoothly, so those should be interchangeable. Front axles reassembled. Let's check the rear axles. Again, same diff covers not interchangeable, different screws, and the axles of the Austar are much wider, what you can see here, and what I did already find in the first video disassembling, they have 3mm shafts in the rear. They have 2.5mm shafts in the front Austar, but on the rear axle 3mm shaft, and you see a significantly wider rear axle, would say 1.5 or more than 1 centimeter wider for sure. What's the case here in the Austar? I found 4 more Phillips head screws holding those ball bearings, while those in the TRX-4M are also hex head screws, ball bearings and bushings. TRX-4M, Austar, and you see wider axles. Are they wider? No, inside it seems to be the same, 4mm and 4mm. So inside they are the same. What's the strange thing? Here you can see it, 3mm versus 2.5mm, and the front axle of the Austar also does have 2.5mm, need different types of screws. You can see it here, nuts, and also different nut drivers. That's a bit strange. Inside they are the same, 4mm, but outside rear axle of the Austar does have a 3mm thread, and front 2.5, and the TRX-4M does have 2.5. Inside here the same again, Traxxas not greased at all, and the Austar nicely greased. So in the axles a lot of differences. Austar seems clearly to have copied the design of Traxxas in some way. That's the Traxxas axle, rear axle, that's the Austar axle. So gears maybe are interchangeable, or they are interchangeable, but they made the axles are much wider. They have a different drive shaft, and yeah, they changed it probably because they are or were afraid of Traxxas, famous for suing. What's super strange is this strange bearing here inside on the C-hub, 3.5mm, is also in the Austar, and I never saw this before in any other truck. 3.5mm bearing. The servo on axle mount design is clearly taken from Traxxas. This could be interchangeable. The whole axle is very similar, but it's wider, and that way probably Traxxas can't sue, I don't know. So front axles, rear axles, not really the same. What's with the shock mounts? Are shock mounts link mounts? Let's check this. No, link mounts are exactly on the same positions. So you could use the Austar axles, the wider Austar axles, also in the TRX-4M. Also in the front axle, so a little bit strange. No clone for sure, but for sure Traxxas design. And are the gearboxes interchangeable? This would be interesting and nice, because the Austar has a very nice and large 260 motor, and the Traxxas does have a 180 motor. So I removed already the screws and the battery compartment, and let's compare those. And this seems a clear, yes, they will be interchangeable. So that's, hope you can see it now, that's exactly the same design, probably same design of the skid plate. What a mess here, I apologize. Simply let's try to, and all this wiring, I didn't remove it, both are new trucks, still didn't cut all those. So let's try the Austar gearbox, if it fits into the TRX-4M. So Austar gearbox fits, including the nice motor, to the TRX-4M, and therefore of course the TRX-4M gearbox also fits to the Austar. So that's again clearly a copy. And what else? We didn't check the links. The Austar does come with, what a mess here meanwhile, with super nice high clearance links. But it comes with those plastic ball whatever connectors, and they are not super smooth, but not in the Traxxas either, but maybe better. That's also plastic. Okay, the links of the Traxxas, oh, they are about the same in they seem to be a little bit okay here. Oh, that's the same. So interchangeable, probably. High clearance links of the Austar and the straight links of the Traxxas, that's the same. This will fit. However, those, yeah, they are high clearance links. They are nice, but probably people would buy upgrades in metal. So that's nearly everything but shock towers, and those shock towers look super similar. Shock towers are clearly, do I have to remove those shocks for this? No. They are clearly a copy. You can see this. They are a little bit different design, but screws, way of mounting. So the shock towers will fit. Shock towers of the Austar will fit to the TRX-4M if one would like to do this, and if those spares should be available someday, and of course much cheaper than the spares for the TRX-4M. End of this video. Again, way too long. I didn't want to disassemble anything, and now I disassembled the whole trucks again. Austar AX8560. Is it a clone of the Traxxas TRX-4M? No, it's not a clone. It's not completely the same. However, Austar clearly took the design of Traxxas, of the TRX-4M, and changed it a little bit, but some things like servo mount and this 3.5mm ball bearing, and also design of the axles and the chassis are very similar, but it's not the same. Axles are wider, links are a little bit different, everything's a little bit different. The frame seems to be, of course, it's the same length, because all those frame bars, skid plate, gearbox, they will be interchangeable. That's nice. If this should be available as upgrade, maybe it's already from Injora with this big 260 motor, which is really very nice. And simply interchange the gearbox. Gears should also be interchangeable in axles, of course. since that's a very different gearbox. Probably gears cannot be interchangeable. So what's the final conclusion? Yeah, the Traxxas is better than I had expected before I bought it. However, Traxxas is Traxxas. It's way too expensive for what it can do or delivers. Mainly here in Europe, it's much more expensive than in the US and much more expensive than Axial. And the Austar is simply awesome for 80 or 70 or even 62 bucks last week shipped, including VAT. This truck is not a complete copy of the TRX-4M. Austar seemed to have taken the design of Traxxas, changed it and made a truck out of it. Probably as many changes as have been necessary to not be sued by Traxxas. Traxxas, world champion in suing other companies. Or I don't know. We will see what happens. Because some things like servo mount, axle design, even if they are wider, that's clearly a copy of the Traxxas design. I'm curious what will happen. But Traxxas it's so expensive. Yes, it's a licensed body, and this Jeep is not licensed. So 80, 70, 63, 62 euros for the Austar, including ball bearings you have to buy for your Traxxas, including light controller, switchable lights you have to buy for your Traxxas. It's maybe the Traxxas is better quality, probably all those parts, but for 2 to 3 times the price you get one TRX-4M, and in some countries you will get 3 Austar AX8560s for this. So if you can live with this stolen ideas by Traxxas, that's an absolute bang for the buck. Best microcrawler under 100 bucks. By far way better in my opinion than this Race and Volantex I have somewhere here around, SCX24 copy. So that's it for this video. I have to reassemble the trucks now. Of course I greased the Traxxas axles. You get also greased gears in the Austar. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you in the next video. I'll be back.